For the past few years, I've made it a tradition to put out a top 10 PSVR games of the year, to put a nice end cap on that year of PSVR, and to recall some of the fantastic titles we've received. But looking back at this year for my channel, I've realized that I uploaded severely less reviews and videos in general. So to help pull this video together, I've enlisted the help of PSVR Zest. PSVR Zest is a fairly new PSVR channel that started uploading last year, and since then he has been pushing out tons of great reviews and gameplay videos, among other PSVR related videos. I would highly recommend checking out his channel in the description below, as he puts out some fantastic stuff. So after coming up with our own lists, we've worked together to create a mutual list, and we'll go back and forth sharing our picks. So without further ado, let's get into the top 10 PSVR games of 2021. Boxed In from Red Chain Games was easily the most surprising game of the year for me. I started the game expecting a simple puzzle game that I could play a few rounds of, then write a review, and quickly move on to the next game. But to my shock, I became addicted to the simple gameplay loop of destroying blocks that slowly move towards you. This is a VR puzzle game done right, because it puts you straight into the puzzle, having you observing and moving around your surroundings, while blasting and creating combos as fast as possible. Not to mention the amazing aim controller support, as well as a hidden area bringing you into a game cat island, with several Easter eggs such as PSVR Zest himself.
Windlands II from Synth was a long time in the making for PSVR, having released for other headsets back in 2018, but when it finally arrived it didn't disappoint. Offering up the rope swinging gameplay of the first game on steroids and introducing some awesome boss battles, the cartoony world of Windlands is a fun place to explore, and in the absence of a fully fledged Spider-Man VR game, this is a great alternative for scratching that web-slinging itch. This is also one of those rare PSVR titles to include a decent online multiplayer mode, and indeed the game is best played with others as it improves on the somewhat lonely single player experience. Working through the game with others also gives you something more of a fighting chance, as it can be extremely challenging at times, particularly when taking on the gigantic bosses. The sensation of swinging around the levels gives an incredible sense of freedom, but does require a fair amount of skill, especially when you're trying to aim and fire the bow at the same time. But once you've mastered it, there's nothing like that feeling when you nail all the right moves and bring down those titans.
When Doom 3 VR from Archaeact released, it really resurrected that excitement I missed from VR. After years of playing games, it can be easy for me to lose the magic, but upon playing the opening sequence of Doom 3 in VR, with tons of demons and explosions everywhere, I was extremely excited. Doom 3 VR is a game that just never lets down. It's filled to the brim with fast-paced action, gore, and that early 2000s graphical charm. If you love action games, which who doesn't, then I'd highly recommend Doom 3 VR.
When Winds and Leaves from Trebuchet first showed up, I had no idea what to expect. It was billed at the time as a flora builder, which didn't really help to sell it to me or explain it, other than making me think it was some kind of Minecraft imitation or a weird garden centre management sim. When playing the game for the first hour or two, it's still not completely obvious what's going on. Eventually though, things begin to click, more gameplay mechanics open up, and the story starts to reveal itself. From that point onwards, I found myself hooked on the unique core gameplay loop of exploring and replenishing the barren landscapes, and gradually making sense of the world, and it's that constant sense of discovery that makes this game so intriguing. The combination of colourful visuals and dynamic soundtrack provides such a relaxing and chilled experience that I found it a really great place to unwind for a few hours with each play session. There are some subtle but impactful underlying messages about the environment here, and seeing forests of trees spring up in front of you as you fast forward time is always an awe-inspiring and quite moving sight. The slower paced gameplay may not be to everyone's taste, but if it resonates with you, then there's a real gem of a game here waiting to be discovered.
In recent years, one of my favorite developers has been Shell Games. They brought their A game with amazing titles such as I Expect You to Die, Until You Fall, and the soon-to-be Among Us VR. This year they've done it again with the sequel, I Expect You to Die 2. This game brings back the amazing spy-themed escape rooms with some of the most enjoyable and creative puzzles you can find in VR.
Arashi Castles of Sin from Endeavour One brought us some of the best stealth em up shinobi action we've ever seen on PSVR. Feeling a lot like a VR continuation of the classic Tenchu series, sneaking your way through the large open levels and taking out enemies along the way feels amazing. The ability to take different paths through each level and having access to a wide variety of weapons provides a lot of autonomy in how you approach things and adds a decent amount of replayability. Of course, my favourite aspect of the game is the awesome Haru. your faithful furry companion who accompanies you throughout the game, and who, as well as being there to brutally slaughter your enemies, is equally always up for a good petting. Along the way you get to take in some gorgeous scenery, with the clifftop vistas and the falling leaves in the cemetery as just a couple of examples. The visuals, music, spoken dialogue, character design and cutscenes all combine to really immerse you into the atmosphere of feudal Japan, making this one of my personal favourite releases of the year.
Ever since the release of Beat Saber, rhythm games have been one of the most popular genres in VR, and it's no shock to me. I'm always keeping an eye out for another great rhythm game to play, which is why I was especially excited when I got around to trying Synth Riders from Klug Interactive. This is a rhythm game that combines hitting beats, moving with rails, dodging obstacles, and various special beats. On top of the exciting gameplay, there are some fantastic arenas, a wide selection of songs, and events to keep you coming back. Synth Riders manages to stand tall among games like Beat Saber and is a rhythm game anyone can enjoy.
Fracked from Dreams was another one of my favourite surprise hits of the year. The game presents a bombastic mix of action movie style skiing sequences and run and gun levels as you try to save the planet from a bunch of interdimensional beings who have taken over a fracking facility high in the snowy mountains. The range of weapons may be limited, but the shooting, reloading and cover mechanics in this are some of the absolute best I've experienced in a PSVR game, and really help to make the firefights with enemies incredibly fun and tactile. Aiming always feels spot on, and shooting up an explosive barrel, sending enemies flying and towers crumbling, is massively satisfying. The graphics, music, dialogue and storyline all provide that 80s action movie vibe, and although it's fairly linear and short-lived, there's never a dull moment. Due to the sometimes full-on combination of skiing, shooting and smooth locomotion, this is a game that really requires you to have your VR legs at the ready, but is definitely one that every PSVR owner should check out if they're up to it. I genuinely hope this isn't the last we've heard of Fracked, and I'd love to see a sequel appear on PSVR 2 expanding on the core gameplay of this one.
Easily one of the most technically impressive games of this year, and in PSVR in general, is Hitman 3 VR from IO Interactive. Not only does this game let you play the entirety of Hitman 3 in VR, but also every other level in the recent Hitman trilogy. This is a game that blows my mind to this day, as I had been a fan of this Hitman trilogy for years, but never imagined it reaching these heights with VR. In Hitman, you'll be attempting to assassinate a set of given targets in huge interactive levels that have dozens of potential ways for you to finish your targets. It's essentially a stealth sandbox game, and it's really one of those few games that really shows the potential of PSVR.
Song in the Smoke from 17-bit is epic. Epic in scope, epic in aspiration, and epic in execution. At its heart, it's an immersive survival adventure that drops you into a beautiful but deadly world where everything is out to get you, whether that be the elements, the hunger, or that large pointy-toothed beast that just crept up behind you. In the PSVR and VR niche in general, we're used to being short-changed when it comes to game length, with plenty of sub-2 hour games and experiences, so it's always appreciated when a fully fledged game like Song in the Smoke comes along and provides hours upon hours of gameplay and replayability. Be aware though that this does mean you'll need to invest some serious time in it to make any kind of progress. Being built for VR from the ground up, the game provides a huge amount of tactile interactions and incredibly in-depth crafting systems. The only thing slightly lacking in terms of interactions is the climbing, resorting to a teleportation style technique to ascend and descend, but this really isn't a deal breaker. The whole game has clearly been put together with a passion. The graphics and audio really transport you to another world, and it's equal parts beautiful and terrifying to behold, with some incredible level and character design throughout. Since launch, subsequent patches have provided a raft of improvements, and also added easier and harder difficulty levels, so if you are struggling, or conversely if you're something of a complete sadist, it would be absolutely worth your time diving back in to try out these new difficulties. Song in the Smoke was a real highlight of the year and a great showcase of what a VR game can be when done properly, and that's why it's our #1 PSVR game of 2021.
So those were our picks for the best PSVR games of 2021. I want to give a big thank you to PSVR Zest for helping me out with this list, as I wasn't even able to come up with 10 games because of how little I played this year. Once again, I'll leave a link to his channel in the description below, but for now I want to thank you for watching this video and for all the support throughout 2021. It means a lot to me. I'd also love to hear what some of your favorite PSVR games of the year were, so maybe I can figure out which games I need to go back and play.